film or television. Like,
Yeah.
basically, I would do Q&A videos every week. You're asking the character questions, and the characters answer. You get to interact with your character. It's crazy.
Did you ever, in other traditional projects, you go to a set and you get to be that character and then you get to walk away from it at the end of the day. You never had that luxury. The set was where you lived. The other actors were your family. Did those lines ever blur? Did you ever have days where it was confusing though? Yeah, where am I in this right now? What am I living right now? Who am I right now?
No, that's a great identity crisis, for sure. There was a lot of moments. Like, there was a time where the story was I was kicked out of my house and living in a tent called Eagles Landing, and I got back into the house as part of the story. Like, my dad let me back in, and I was laying down in bed, no cameras were on me, and I thought, wow, it's great to be back. It's great to be back. I got lost in it because, it is all my family members. I'm yelling at my dad. It is my mom, it's my Uncle Larry. These are all real people, and when we're just 2 videos a day, like 30 minutes to an hour's worth of content, like, we had to become those people.
It's pretty incredible that, like you were just saying, 2 a day, 30 to an hour worth of content. I imagine you have just stacks and stacks of hard drives filled with video. When you were coming to this project and putting this documentary together, how involved were you? Did you just like grab a giant box of hard drives and go, good luck? Or did you help pick, all the different moments?
Yeah, shout out to Brian Spitz, who's on the West Coast right now. He had the mantle responsibility of sorting not only days and days worth of behind-the-scenes footage, but days and days, years of actual footage on the channel, as well as interviews. And I would help him each day, like, yo man, you need to select these clips, these are the best of the best. Definitely, focus in on the struggle with my parents portraying the divorce is real. So definitely had a huge hand, but there are untold stories from that edit room, I'm sure.
Yeah, no doubt. There's so much to unpack and get into and so many great things. I want to talk a little bit about your fans and how incredible they are.
They are.
Right? Give yourselves a round of applause for being pretty
Yes!
So they all get, as you said, connected and invested in these characters. When the big reveal came out, did you find there was a section of the fan base that even maybe to this day still doesn't accept that it wasn't real, or is like maybe what's happening now is just part of an even bigger story? Like how's that?
That's interesting. I think I was very fearful going into the finale, as was my whole family. It's like, wow, okay, you're shooting your dad. You're then snapping your fingers and revealing the whole entire last few years, basically people's like idol was technically a character and it was fake. I thought there could be a possibility they're gonna hate me.
Yeah.
But what ended up happening was it seemed like a lot of relief, and then it became a newfound respect where it's like, wow, this kid, not only did he kind of live that story, but he also made it all happen. He made, he had his dad act out that part. He wrote that, he had this character and on that. So I think it becomes a very different animal. And I do think though there's a lot of fans that when they look at me, they'll still always see the psycho kid.
Yeah.
And that's perfectly fine. Because, sometimes I'll still look in the mirror and I'll see him too. I was in his shoes for so long.
For sure. I think there's a lot of, like, some people in general have a hard time separating actors from their characters on television. And when you do something like you've done, you blur that line so much, it's more so than even like a wrestling fan that's like, well, I know it's fake, but I watch it for the action and the plot. Like, this is a totally other level of that. It's like the evolution of that blurred line.
Yeah, it's like seeing like a hated character, like the most hated character on the streets, and you're just like, I still hate this person. Like, they play it so well. I feel like it's very similar to that.
Yeah. Well, it looks like you see a little bit in the doc too that those people exist, but there's also fans that get it and they're just excited to meet you and they kind of appreciate everything you put into it. I want to tap into something you were talking about earlier, like the divorce and all this sort of stuff. These heavy, super real, super heavy moments that are a reminder. None of the people that you worked with were actors. They were your family, right? But they churn out these performances that are incredible.
Perfectionism. 20 takes, guys. Yeah. One more time. They hated me. But I always, because we had to portray it as real, that was a very high demand where, we couldn't just half-ass a video. It was like, you have to deliver. So it just came down to pushing them and putting it in layman's terms, like what the character objective is. Mom, you are divorcing him because you see the destructive tendencies that he has, and there's definitely some resistance the divorce itself. Like that was a huge deal. A lot of moments where they wanted to quit throughout, even within that first month. It's like, okay, this is enough.
Yeah. How, and you see a lot of that in the film, which is truly fascinating, because again, and for those of you, I know this is exhausting for those of you who already know this, but for those that are seeing it for the first time, what's remarkable about it is that you're asking your family and your friends to portray these roles, and to their friends around them, they don't even know if this is real or not. They'll have like little phone calls where they're like, no, we know it's fake, but how's he doing? How's things going?
Even my
really
own
big deal.
My own mama, my dad's mom would call up. Is everything okay?
Yeah.
It's like, Grandma, what are you talking about?
Yeah.
Like, we're fine.
What were those conversations like when your mother or your father, or anybody for that matter, they were on board, but now it's getting a little bit too much and they're starting to pull away? How did you get them to come back into it and buy back into the project?
So for the fans listening in, basically, when you see the scenes of Jesse and his dad fighting, or Jesse and his mom, that's how the real deal would go. It would get pretty heated because, this was my baby, and I saw a vision of it, and it's hard to translate that vision sometimes, and it's even harder when it's a platform like YouTube, where a lot of people don't see it for what it is. Like, we're generating so many views, and the ad dollars add up, and it's like, clearly there's an audience for it, and it's the younger generations, which is the future. So this matters more than anything, in my opinion, and basically, to try and translate, like, money helped, I think, for my parents, kind of validated the platform.
It legitimized what you guys are working on. Yeah, this is a source of income. This is entertainment. This is, real.
And then, so that helped in the beginning, as well as just their sheer love and belief in me and what I was doing. And then, towards the end, it became a belief in the project. They started to really love and live in it. And you can see that in the doc and the behind the scenes, like, they really enjoyed it, and everybody was depressed when it all ended because they lived that as that person.
Yeah, and also too was an opportunity. I mean, almost everybody, especially nowadays, has a fantasy of being some kind of a movie star, having an opportunity to play make believe and do this. And you created this whole world, this safe space where they could indulge these crazy versions of themselves, this alternate reality, and go nuts. So at first you get their hesitation, but then you can see it in the interviews that they're having a good time, they're really enjoying it. Was your dad like that from day one when you did the first video, before you knew this was going to be a big series? Like, how did you go back to him and go, all right, we did that crazy thing, but we're going to do it for a really long time because apparently that crazy thing is very popular.
A few years.
Yeah, exactly.
He at first, because it was a joke, he's like, I don't know, a couple hundred people will see this. It's satirical, but as it started going, my dad works in government. And he's like,
how did he get him on board for this?
And it's a publicly appointed position, so he's basically abusing his son, portrayed as real, for a couple years, divorces his wife. He goes into work, and the employees are just like, Jeff, everything all right? You might be fired next week, but just want to make sure everything's good. So super uncomfortable. We had there was a lot of times where I had to talk my dad off the cliff, so to speak, and I was just like, it was not easy. I'm having flashbacks right now. For sure.
Well, I mean, Family of the Year award, without question. The way they supported you and the way you guys kind of banded together to make this thing a reality. We all benefit for it because the project is absolutely incredible. Talking a little bit about blurring that line in the realism and then fans sort of interpreting it in different ways. Were you ever surprised? You touched a little bit on the doc and sort of the fear and paranoia that sets in at some point. Were you ever surprised by some of the fan reaction and what their response was and all the different phone calls to the cops and stuff like that? What was like the most shocking thing?
You had to deal with? We had a few run-ins with fans. There was one night we were working on Aunt Jackie's house and in the Haunted series, and we had somebody tailing us in a car, and we're looking in the rear view, and I'm like, yo, I'm pretty sure they're following us. And then we start going like 80, 90 miles per hour. They're following. They're keeping right up. I'm like, oh my god. We started doing a few turns, like a few right turns. They're still following us. We turned down a dead end, and they cornered us. And when we had to literally like drive up on the grass to avoid them, it was like something you see out of an action movie. And we looked into the driver's seat. It was not a smile when they saw us. There was like, we want to expose you. We want to, that was like the big ticket items. Like
Yeah.
whoever can expose McJuggernauts, crack the case, is gonna get crazy amounts of fame on YouTube.
That's what it was. That was because I was going to say, why do you think there's some fans that were so happy to sort of buy into the fantasy, or not even realize it's a fantasy, but just enjoy the ride? And then there were other fans that were like dead set on, I'm going to get this guy. I'm going to expose him. I'm going to show the world. And everyone's like, dude, chill.
Yeah, I feel like a lot of it came down to, because I would watch freak out videos, and then before I started, I was like, wow, they were kind of frustrating me a little bit. I was like, these are blatantly fake, but people believe it. It was kind of like, when you find out Santa Claus isn't real, and you're just like so frustrated with that. Sorry if that's.
Oh yeah,
sorry. Genuinely, he's not real. I mean,
well, no, hang on, let's cover our ass here. He is real in certain parts of the world.
Yes.
Yeah, right?
Yes. Yeah.
Okay.
He's around.
He's just not in New Jersey. Yeah. Exactly. He just doesn't go to Jersey. And so anyone from Jersey, as a result, refuses to accept him as real. That's
exactly.
Thank you.
As long as he lives in your heart. But it became like, when you're frustrated when you first find out that Santa Claus isn't real, and then you're like, well, it's almost like spoilers. I gotta ruin it for somebody else. So I think it became, wow, this guy is making loads of money. He's got all these followers, but it's all fake.
Yeah.
How is he pulling that off? Like, I want people to know that it's not. And so I'm gonna try and make a following out of that. There's a whole counterculture.
It's so weird, like, psychologically what happens to someone when they get angry. Like, it's all fake. It's like, yeah, he did 38 takes and spent 2 days on this video, but it's all fake. Like, he didn't earn it. Like, you know what I mean? It's so weird that there's a disconnect there. You were, according to and I don't think this number's gone up since I've seen the documentary, but you were swatted 20 times? Is that accurate?
That's pretty accurate.
Does that ever cease to be pants-shittingly terrifying when that happens? Because I would imagine, and for those who don't know, I know a lot of us in this room do, but those who are watching at home, just real quick, what swatting is.
So swatting is when a troll, or basically just anyone over the internet, decides to call up the police, local police, or even state police, and they'll say, hey, I live at this person's address that I don't like. They pretend it's their own, and they say, I just killed my mom, I killed my dad, whoever.
Whatever they gotta say to get the police force to send a literal SWAT team to your location.
Like, there's certain qualifications to get the SWAT team, so they have to murder somebody in the house, and then they have to say, if any cops show up, I'll also kill the cops on site.
Yeah.
And they phone that in, and the cops gotta respond, and when the cops get there, they're ready to shoot to kill, because that's their job.
So 20 times. Do you get to time number 17 and even the cops know it's hey man, we gotta show up. We gotta come out, I know.
And that's 100% accurate.
That's kind of awesome.
Yeah,
7 cop cars roll up. Hey Jesse.
On the third time it was like, yo, how are we not on the list yet? We should know by now. McJuggernauts, just Ridgway's house, the address. So I think it was around the 4th or 5th, it was like, okay, we have password protected, so if they get cop calls, they'll call me on my cell because they still have to double check, and then they'll still send people out. And these are happening, 5 in the morning, 4 in the morning, midnight,
friggin' terrible.
Every hour. So we're on edge.
It's absolutely terrible. I got a couple of minutes before I go to audience Q&A, so I got a couple last questions, then we'll get over there. So get the wheel spinning, guys, if you haven't thought of your questions yet. I'm curious. You show a little video in the doc where you break it down. When did you develop the formula for the perfect viral video? When did that come about in your mind? Was that, I imagine, shortly after?
Yeah, it was later on. Basically, the formula came to be because Psychedelic Shreds video games got over 30 million views, and I was like, all right, let me break this one down. We were getting 10 million, and we understood the fundamental of destruction and dad yelling at kids, whatever. But I was like, what is actually the in-depth analysis of what's going on here? So I looked at that video and then broke it down. And then we tried it a few more times, and it was 100%.
It's working.
Yeah. It definitely took a little bit to kind of craft that, though.
Yeah, for sure. Well, it's we had a couple of different entertainers and people from YouTube on stage, and nobody, I think your formula is the only one I've seen proven that actually nails it. And it's just really fascinating to see someone tap into that, and it's all story driven. It's not about doing the craziest thing. It's about building the story around it, building the tension around it, giving I wrote down the different parts here: the hook, the suspense, the conflict, and the dangle. I think
the dangle's the biggest. The dangle
is naturally the largest.
Yeah, it is. That's the hostage situation. It's no, don't do it.
Yeah.
Super suspenseful. But yeah, it's as far as YouTube goes, I think it's one of the like you won't find this on any other YouTube channel. There's no big like YouTube storytellers, like long episodic driven series that are like super indie like this.
Yeah.
And portrayed as real, but.
I wouldn't be doing my job if I didn't ask the often, I'm sure you get this everywhere question, just what's next sort of question. What are you working on? What aspirations do you have at this point? Having achieved this,
yeah,
and like where do you go from here?
Huge shoes to fill.
Yeah.
And it was hard because after revealing it was fake, there's no going back after that.
No, that's it.
You never trust me again, so to speak. Where it's like, well,
dude, watching this, I was still waiting. I was like, yeah, as we were getting to the end, I was like, there seems like there's going to be a big conflict here. Like I was waiting for it to turn, but it's still, you kept it all there, and it felt very real and genuine. But like
the big ticket item right now is I'm still pumping out videos, and I'll tell you guys right now, we're gonna have an app come out in like 2 weeks. And
wait, is that the big bombshell that you were talking about on Twitter? Your game-changing
it's,
announcement?
it's called Storyfire, and it's a group storytelling app in social media, and it will take over the world. Like, I'm telling you right now, this will be the first time I'm saying it. It will.
That sounds pretty incredible.
Because I know all you guys are aspiring YouTubers and creators, and if you want to tell stories, you're going to be able to do this.
Can I just real quick? Did you know they were aspiring YouTubers? Because there's literally at least 7 cameras.
What gave it away?
2 of which on sticks. That one's hand. I mean, I haven't. Yeah, I can see where you get that from. Wait, 8. I just saw another camera. Is that another one over there? Yeah. Okay, another camera. All right, a couple of rapid fires, and we're gonna go to audience Q&A. What was the hardest thing to watch get destroyed?
The room. The room in the Morton building, the gaming room. I had developed a lot of memories. Like me, my friends, my uncle built that from scratch together. Put a lot of money. We all know the paint job. The paint job. We just had a fight in the room, and paint just like fell beautifully on it. It was like Technicolor. It was great. So to watch that crumble for the video, there was some real screams in that one.
Bummer. All right, let's go the other direction. What was the most exciting, most exhilarating thing to watch get destroyed?
I have to go with the pool.
Yeah.
The pool impact was absolutely insane. To watch Uncle Larry just speeding through. I didn't think he was going to do it, honestly, but he was like dead set. There was not a doubt in his mind. He was ready to die at that point.
Incredible. Last question, because I saw a couple of lists online, a couple of people attempt, but I figured I'll go straight to the horse's mouth. How many consoles had to die? How many did you shatter? What's the final tally?
At least double digits, honestly. Yeah. There was a few already broken consoles, like that first one. It was already a red ring Xbox.
Oh, really?
So we would definitely destroy broken stuff. Yeah. It hurts.
A lot of trips to EB buying used. Was that a trick?
Yeah. Oh yeah.
A lot of
buy as cheap as possible, and we did some giveaways though to kind of counteract.
Yeah.
Because you watch someone get destroyed, it's like, yo, somebody could have had that.
Yeah, I saw you guys. There was a recent video where the Switch got just destroyed, and I was like, no.
Those are very rare.
Yeah,
they're selling out. What? I'll tell you, that was already broken. That was Tom Abraham's already broken Nintendo Switch. It broke within a couple weeks.
Fair enough. Yeah, a couple of them are. All right, fair enough. Well, thank you. That's our time. Let's go ahead and turn it over. I think I see some microphones out there. We'll start right here.
Oh, sick.
Yeah. Hey, Jesse. Just want to say, huge fan of the Psycho series.
Man.
There's a part in the documentary where you were with your dad in the garage, and it was like you kind of had to leave. It was like really hard for you to break out of that character. Just like behind the scenes, like how long did it take for you to move on? Like, what was your experience with that?
Still, great question. Still grappling with leaving that story behind, because that was my core story at the time. It was like, I want to be big on YouTube, and I think everybody kind of assigned themselves to that. And through telling that story, I became big on YouTube. So that'll always be my origin. Like, I'll always have that'll always be close to my heart. But yeah, I still struggle with it every day, because it's like part of me died when the Psycho series ended.
Yeah. How much of the story did you have complete at any one given time? Because I know a lot of the time you're going in there, like when you were doing the divorce one, you were like, well, we don't nail this, then it doesn't happen. So I imagine at that point you've got to reroute the story and find your way around it. So how much, is it all done? Are you making a lot of it up in that moment, but you just know where you've got to land? Like, how does it work?
Yeah, the beautiful thing about it is, it was improv with given points. You gotta make sure you hit this. things like the killing, like the finale of the series I had planned out like for like a year and a half prior. Big key scenes like the divorce or like Uncle Larry in the pool we had known a year prior. And it was just like watching this slow derailing, this kid gradually losing his mind because of, an abusive father and watching his parents split up and, an antagonistic brother and all these environmental factors just weighing on him, and he feels like he's the cause of it, and him and his camera and the thing that he loves to do. There's a lot of elements that kind of go into the story, but there's like key points, and then a lot of stuff on the fly where I actually incorporated fans into it. Where sometimes I'll see a comment like when we destroyed the trailer, my dad's like clawing at it with Echo. That was inspired by a comment left on the video where it was like Psycho Dad bazookas RV, and I was like, what? We can't blow up an RV, and then I was like, no, we can do that. like the fans helped develop the story, which is crazy that you can do that on the fly, and there's a lot of like accidental art moments.
Next question is over there.
Hey Jesse.
Hey, what's up, man?
Can you conceptualize the poster on the screen? How did you came up with it?
So yeah, this was actually we worked with an independent company to create this, and this was their original design. I wish I could claim that I made this, but we wanted something just alarming. With the deep red was definitely achieving that. Just something like almost like mug shots.
Yeah.
And a very stern look, and we had to capture the whole family, and we had to pick the key props that we felt represented the series. So with the gaming elements, trying to make it on YouTube, the gun the gun and the hammer to represent the destructive elements, and then we had the constructive elements, at least in Jesse's mind.
And he's also getting shot from both sides.
Yeah, you got it.
Isn't that nice?
Yeah.
No, there's a lot going on here.
There is.
A lot going on.
Some subtext.
We have one more question, but before we go to it, and I apologize if I take your question, I want to know how early on did you decide that you knew at the end you were going to have to shoot your dad?
That was like day one. That was
one?
just easy.
Oh man.
I think it came from like a really like deep inner desire to do that. I don't know. It's
Your
like,
dad is awesome. You want to shoot your dad?
Nah, it was like, what is because there's that old stigma that parents have, like, oh, the violence in video games, violence in video games make you lose your mind. So I was like, let me play on that stereotype.
Right.
And the ultimate irony was, Psycho Dad at the very end's like, the video games fault. It's like, no, dude.
Yeah.
You made me.
You made me.
It's like it's the parents that are causing it. It's not the other stuff.
For sure.
Yeah.
Awesome, cool. Last question is right here. Go for it, man.
Hi.
Hey, what's up, man?
Well, I used to do YouTube videos, but I had like no motivation at all to keep on going to do what I do. So when you started doing YouTube videos, what motivated you to keep on going?
So yeah, I started YouTube in 2006, so it's been over 10 years now, and even when I was 14, it came from just something to do with your friends. I like playing video games, and outside of that, it was like if we're all hanging out, it's like, yo, I got the camera, like what if we just did like a skit? There's like a certain little either joke I wanted to share with people that I thought was funny, or even a story that I wanted to share. And that's what it was about. And it wasn't until, as you get older, it was like, well, I need money and I need to get a job. Like the dose of realism from the parents and everybody like started to sink in, and you start to hear stories of people making millions on YouTube. So it was like, okay, let me try and do what I love, which is like storytelling, and then mix it with what'll get views, which is freak out videos. So it ended up being a perfect pairing, but some days it's hard. Sometimes it's hard to be motivated. Honestly, a lot of my motivation these days is still the story thing. It's like telling stories and watching people react to it, but it's you guys, the fans. Like you guys keep me accountable for like doing it. I love interacting with you guys and seeing how you guys respond to different things. So, but for starting out, I'd say you gotta really love it, and it helps to have some people in your corner too, like whether it's a parent or a friend or somebody who likes doing it, or even a big YouTuber. Wink, wink. But yeah, man, that's a great question.
That's a great answer. Unfortunately, I can sit here and pick your brain all day. I'm literally made of questions after watching this thing. But unfortunately, we're wrapping it up. We're out of time. I gotta say to those watching out there, whether you're familiar with Jesse's work or not, this documentary is required viewing. Psycho Family on Go90. It's free. You have no excuse not to watch it. You'll be grateful you did. It is fascinating. Congratulations on everything, and thanks for being here, man. Jesse Ridgway, everybody. Make some noise.